Got it? All right,
well,
yeah. Thank you very much. On behalf of USA Hockey, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your Thursday evening, not only to come to the rink on a school night, but to stay an extra 30 minutes. We also want to say, in terms of a national press release, news presentation, congratulations on being one of the 6 new model club associations across the U.S. What that means is that your leadership group has committed to providing the best sports experience and sports environment for your son or daughter. They're taking advantage of the new advancements in sports science. The way we now train players is different than the way we trained players before. And your leadership group has committed to giving your kids the best environment. And now our leadership group from USA Hockey is committed to giving everything to this association that they can to continue to provide your players with the resources to be successful. So congratulations, you guys are in a tremendous place with Ben's leadership. So we will, from USA Hockey, we will keep giving back to this association with supplies, materials, on ice, off ice, coaching, education, for them to continue to provide your sons or daughters the best youth sports experience. So you guys are in a great spot. We're going to continue, we'll get you guys out of here as fast as we can with this. Here's a pop quiz. Do you need glasses? No. Are you sure? All right, so here's our pop quiz for today. Parents, players, you guys can chime in on this. Who can name the top? If you were here yesterday, you cannot participate, and you cannot use your phone if you're sitting in the back of the room. Who can name the top 4 hockey playing countries in the world in order? How these rankings came about so it's our under 18 championships, our under 20 championships, our world champienships, and then our Olympic quad. Over the last 4 years, the success of countries in these tournaments. Who can name the top 4 going into Sochi? Who wants to give it a shot? Canada, Russia, Sweden, Finland. 3 of the 4 are correct. It's a good start. It's a good start. What do you got? We had a player yesterday that said California. And we're worried about power skating or whatever. We had some bigger things to worry about. Who wants to give one more shot before we get going? Nobody's got it right. We carry these books, these prizes all around the country, so don't feel ashamed. You want to give it a shot? Okay. All right, so here we go. The number 1 hockey playing country in the world is Sweden. Number 2 in the world, Finland. 3rd is Russia. And when we go around, we get a little more participation. Everybody says Canada, US, Canada, US, Canada, US. The mighty number 4, the Czech Republic. So here we go. Us being USA Hockey, us being Americans, we feel we're the best at everything in the world. We clearly aren't. We're ranked number 6 in the world. So from USA Hockey's, once again, perspective, what can we be doing better? We aren't the best. But this column right here, this slide right here, was clearly indicative to us that we maybe need to make changes in our youth player development model. Canada, this right here, this column, registered 18 and under youth hockey players in the specific country. Canada, 468,000. The United States, 302,000. We comprise 76% of the world's youth hockey population, yet we rank number 5 and 6 in the world. Who is number 1 in the world? Sweden. How many players do they have in their entire country? 41,000. We have the state of Minnesota that has more players than the entire country of Sweden. Czech Republic, number 4 in the world, 22,000 hockey players. We send our U.S. Olympic team over to international competition and we still have difficulties. We should be able to send a team over with just players from Minnesota and be successful. So what are these European countries? How are they training their athletes? How are they much more efficient at producing hockey players with 1/6 of the population that we have? So we understand that we need change internationally. And then also nationally on our own soil with the National Hockey League. 24 of the 30 NHL teams are on American soil. American owners, NHL owners want more American-born players playing in the National Hockey League. So our job, our goal, and our primary mission is to produce more NHL, American-born hockey players. How we go about that is the premise of the American development model. Getting more kids involved at the entry level, getting more kids to play and try the game of hockey. Once we get them involved in it, we know we have one of the best sports in the world. It's retaining players. Once we get them into the door, getting them to play. And then once we retain them, now it's about providing them the proper programming and training and requirements as they go from 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, to hopefully have potential to be the best. So the American development model, our responsibility is player development from the second your son or daughter enters USA Hockey until they finish up in the beer leagues. From womb to tomb, cradle to grave, whatever it is, it's our responsibility to provide the programming and education to coaches to do what's right for our kids. And so hopefully one day, our cute little mite, our cute little 5-year-old, 6-year-old, hopefully he's been given the proper training, he finds the right training environment to possibly one day have the potential to play on our Olympic team. But we also understand that a lot of parents, a lot of kids, it may not be their aspiration to play in the National Hockey League or the Olympic team. So the bigger perspective is by providing the kids with proper drills that are age appropriate. They, one, enjoy the game, they enjoy the practices, they enjoy the game environment, they enjoy the sport much better than may be happening in other sports. Long-term athlete development is what the premise of the American development model is. Age-appropriate training, doing what's right for your son or daughter at the right time in their life. Our youth sports culture here wants to fast-track kids. We want to move kids from station 1 to station 3. Or a 12-year-old, have them train like an 18-year-old. We're in such a hurry that we're winning the race to the wrong finish line. We're more focused on having the best 6-year-old, 8-year-old, or 10-year-old when it doesn't matter until you're 16, 17, 18 years old. But what matters is the training environment that they're exposed to, that they're brought up in, the hockey environment that you're in. And that's why we're going to spend as much time and resources with this association, is because your leadership has committed to doing what's right. They're not chasing the mighty elusive trophy at 10 years old, when in the big picture it doesn't mean anything with the medals that we win at younger ages. Current state of hockey in the United States, adult competition imposed on young athletes. We have 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds that are playing more games than our National Hockey League players. Right now, our younger age groups, we're on this competition model when we should be on the development model. We're focused on winning games at 10 years old, 12 years old, at the detriment of doing what's right for the kids at the younger ages. Youth players undertrain and overcompete. That just means undertrained, too many games, not enough practices at these critical ages at 12 and under. Training focuses on the immediate outcome rather than optimal training. We have coaches, we have philosophy, we have some associations around the country that are more concerned about winning a game on Tuesday in January with 10-year-olds than doing what's right for all the kids. They shorten the bench in the third period. They only play the top 7 players on the team. What happens to the other 6 kids on the team that go to every practice, that are part of the team? They don't have fun. They lose enjoyment of the game because the coach is more worried about his ego winning a game on a Tuesday night with 8-year-olds or 10-year-olds. Windows of trainability, we're going to spend a considerable amount of time on this, but this is the science that now backs up why we need to change. And when we make change, the reasoning behind it. Here are some development myths. You guys are in California, you're in a hockey hotbed now, but there are associations around that are going to tell you you have to be on the best team to develop. That couldn't be further from the truth. If you're on the best team but you only play 5 minutes out of the game, that's not the best thing for your son or daughter. You have to excel early. Hockey is the latest team specialization sport. Young, early specialization sports are figure skating, gymnastics, where if you're not the best by 14 or 15 years old, you're washed up and you have to retire. Hockey players, who was in yesterday? You remember this?
Yeah.
When are hockey players drafted?
18.
18?
And
Don't answer. We're going to ask these people. If they're drafted at 18, what's the average age of an NHL hockey player? Rookie.
23.
22.8. I'm giving it to you. There you go, man. Hockey is the latest specialization sport. So, and we're focused on a community or a youth sports culture producing the best players at the youngest age. We're very fortunate. We go around the country. We see 305,000 hockey players each year. And we can tell you the best players at 8 years old, 9 years old are not the best players when it matters at 16, 17, 18 years old. If we want to produce better hockey players when it matters, we need to be better athletes at these younger ages. We need to play other sports. It doesn't have to be, if you love hockey, it doesn't have to be a competitive soccer or other sport, but getting active. Becoming a better athlete will produce better hockey players. You have to play hockey 12 months a year. Absolutely false. We need better athletes first if we ever want to produce better hockey players, if they decide to specialize in hockey. You must specialize in hockey before age 12. Couldn't be further from the truth. It's a late specialization sport. I'm from Seattle. I went to prep school out at Deerfield Academy in Boston, Massachusetts, and the reason why I went to prep school, one was for the academics, but I could play baseball, football, and hockey. I played all three sports all through my senior year. I was very lucky to have a scholarship opportunity to play all three sports in college. I did not specialize in hockey till I was 19 years old. The first time in my life I just played one sport is when I went on to play juniors. So become a better athlete. It'll help you out in whatever sport you decide to specialize in. And you must play more games to develop. That's what we're going to spend the next little bit about here is games versus practice. Where true development occurs. It's just very simple to think about this. When you're practicing, you're on the ice for every second of that practice. You play a game, if you have 3 lines on the ice, a third of the game you're sitting on the bench. 2/3 of the game you're sitting on the bench. And these kids are at the age where their body and brain is recording information only when they're doing things, only when they're active. So the more games you play, the less development is actually occurring. And the more players you have on your team, the less development actually occurs. And that's once again the program here. Smaller rosters, more kids, it's for the betterment of the kids. You could have 20 kids on every roster, everybody makes more money, but that's not what is best for the kids. Culture of games and trophies and medals, this is our youth sports culture. This isn't just a hockey issue. This was taken, these are the top teams in the country, for whatever that means at 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, and how many games they've played. And at the same time, our USHL, our top junior league, our top Division I, amateur league, and then professional hockey league. We have 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds that are playing more games than professional athletes. We have a 12-year-old team that's played twice as many games as our NCAA Division I athletes. So at the younger ages, our pyramid, our development model is completely backwards. We're playing more games when we should be practicing more. Sorry about that.
That USA Hockey just recognized the problem and commit.
Okay, so before we get to this, so this was my coach in college. When I was very lucky to play at Boston College for 4 years and then play for 3 years pro after that. Never once when he was recruiting me did he ask what my record was when I was 12 years old, or 14 years old, or 16 years old. He didn't even care what my team record was before I went into my freshman year. All coaches look at and all they care about is the skill of the players that they're looking at, the individual skill. And how you get to that is not by playing more games. It's focusing at these younger ages on the training environment. So here we go. We'll see how the Boston accent carries out.
Youth hockey, it's like scrum football. It's just the creativity's missing, the skill level's missing. There's a lot that's wrong, and I'm so excited that USA Hockey's recognized the problem and come in with a solution to the problem.
Well, I think some of the differences and problems maybe right now that Massachusetts hockey is facing. One, I think we're developing less high-end athletes as far as guys making it to Division I and also onto the National Hockey League. And then I think also one of the issues is I think that the costs have gotten a little bit out of hand, and that has maybe limited the number of people that are capable of playing, and so I think that's had a dual effect, and hopefully we can turn this around and get Massachusetts back to where it was maybe 20, 30 years ago, where we're really putting out a large number of high-end players.
I see a lot of changes from the 70s to now, the way kids are playing hockey, the way kids are taught hockey in Boston area and eastern Massachusetts. I think that most of it is not very good. There's a lot of problems with number of games, a lot of problems with pressure with kids at younger ages, there's a lot of problems with travel teams, with full uniforms, and playing big, quote-unquote, big games. There's coaches bragging about the fact that their Phantom team is 42-4. I think that's good for the players.
The one thing that I think has been a significant difference since I left college hockey in '96 to coach in the national program and coach the pros, and then came back almost a decade later, was that I almost sensed a little bit of a robotic existence for hockey players. It's really very rare to find a kid that's got kind of like the the pond hockey skills that become visible in a game where a guy plays naturally, plays the game. You can see that his history in the game has been come from an athletic background, where players can really have their own identities as hockey players, whether it's a forward or a defenseman. And I think that's really sad. I think that I think hockey in itself has become monopolized by a mentality that, you know, you have to play on the all-star teams, you have to play 90 games a year. The creativity in the game has been minimized into systems where you have to play specific roles. And that's where that robotic, I think, image comes.
So those are just a few key takeaway messages from our highest level of coaches in college hockey. We've addressed it, we've listened to it, and now it's our responsibility to implement change at the younger ages to benefit our kids for future success. This picture right here, I think, sums up everything that's wrong with the youth sports culture, particularly in hockey in our country. Right here, we have players that are just they're being master puppeteered by coaches and parents. All the creativity is gone. Coaches are yelling from the bench, telling the kid to pass the puck here, move the puck here, look back door. Yes, that team may have success in the short term, but that coach is handicapping his kids where they can't think on their own. They're reliant upon that coach to make decisions for them. So the ability to coach at the bench, talk to kids when they get here instead of from the bench, is another example of that short-term benefit at the detriment of long-term gains. No average 9-year-olds. This is our biggest cultural change that we're trying to shift away from, is we have these associations that want to create super teams at 9, 10, 11 years old, 8 years old. Get the best players together and have them train. The kids that make this team at 9 years old are generally the ones that were born in January, February, March. It's called the relative age effect. Those kids have just been in their body 3 months longer than other kids in this short period of time that they've been on Earth. So now we create this team and that team. We're going to separate. This team's going to get a different style of coaching, more ice time, better ice time. This team gets fewer ice time. Yet we want to create this environment at 8 years old, and we may be eliminating some of our best future potential hockey players because they were just born, they were smaller, come tryout time at 8, 9, and 10 years old. And then this last one here, redefining what player development is. Right now our culture looks at wins and losses. They look at that previous slide of the #1 teams in the country, and we perceive that to be, they're doing an excellent job of developing players. If that coach, if that program, and in the third period they only play their top 7 players and the other 8 players sit on the bench, he is not developing his entire team. He's not developing every player. He's just playing his best players too much. He's more worried about winning and losing at a younger age instead of doing what's right for the players. In my opinion, this document right here is the most important document that any hockey director, coach, or parent should have an understanding of. We get an 8-year-old in gymnastics, or an 8-year-old in volleyball as an 8-year-old in hockey. You're only an 8-year-old once. You're only an 11-year-old once. So we need to do what's right. We need to be educated as parents, hockey directors, and coaches to make sure our son or daughter is in the proper environment for them to enjoy it and for them to have future success with it. So these right here, these are the 5 S's. Windows of trainability. It's a little difficult for you to see, but I'll say it's suppleness, speed 1. There's also a speed 2 window, skills, stamina, and strength. So what these 5 boxes are the 5 physical trainable capacities of an athlete, and when their development path, their body and brain is more receptive to this specific type of training. This is the reason why we can't approach the game of today with the mindset of yesterday. We know too much about the brain with these kids not to take advantage of this. And this is the commitment your association has done, is to take advantage of the sports science, the information, and to provide exactly what's right for your 11-year-old or your 8-year-old. So as we'll focus here, this box highlights what's important from 9 to 12 years old. This is called the golden window of skill acquisition. This is when the brain is the most receptive. It's the biggest sponge that it'll ever be from 9 to 12 years old. If you want your kid to play an instrument or learn a foreign language, 9 to 12 years old is one of the most receptive times to expose your children to that type of learning. And the only way the brain absorbs this information is by activity. It's recording every muscle motion pattern, spatial awareness pattern faster now than it ever will in its life. That's why it's important that we focus on individual skills, individual repetitions. We don't get those individual skills and repetitions the more games we play because we're sitting inactive, idle, when our brain is recording the most information. So we don't want to play more games during this. These are 3 key takeaway points, messages at Squirts and Pee-wees. Better practice to game ratio. It's important that we focus on practicing, especially from this 9 to 12 year age group, because the brain is recording all this information. One efficient practice will give a player more skill development than 11 games collectively. Individual skills is the high activity environment, the practice environment that your son and daughters just went through. They were skating an average probably 33 to 37 minutes. Some of them had the puck on their stick, maybe 20 minutes of that. That would be the equivalent of 20 games that your son or daughter had in one practice. And that's the critical environment, that's the practice environment we need to have for these kids during these ages, for them to be better and set them up for future success. And then also, we've seen the detriment of playing too many games at this age. If you have a bigger roster, that just means your son or daughter and player is sitting on the bench even more, because there are more players that need to go, and only 5 players can be on the ice at the same time. You don't really have to show this, but this is the type of practices that Paul, Ben, Ken, and I, this is what we went through. This is the old traditional archaic practice. 1 team on the ice, it's called the loop and shoot. 2 players are moving, 2 players are getting better, the other 8 are just standing still. There's no activity.
If you time that out and do the math on it, every kid gets to repeat every 3 minutes and 15 seconds. So if you do it for 10 minutes, you don't get much development.
And this is what you guys see. This is what your program is committed. They've made the next step. They've evolved. This is how kids get better. You only get better by doing. You don't answer this. But we always ask kids, parents, it doesn't matter where we are in the world. It's pretty applicable being here in LA right now. But what's the best part of Disneyland? Riding the rides or standing in line? What is it?
Riding the ride.
Absolutely. Our practice environment should be no different. We want kids to be involved. We want kids to enjoy coming to the rink. This is the practice environment that keeps kids coming back. We hopefully, by changing our practice environment, can provide a much better youth sports experience. Or if the kids are in baseball right now and in one day's batting practice, 1 kid's at the plate hitting and the other 10 kids are in the outfield and maybe they don't get a ball hit to them the whole practice. Or in soccer, you have 1 kid that's dribbling through the cones and the other 12 players are standing still and not getting better and not having fun. So hopefully, 1, we know that development-wise, creating an environment with more practice, more repetitions is better for development, but the kids have more fun with it. They're always moving, they're constantly moving, and they want to come back to the rink. One statistic here that kind of ties everything together and quantifies exactly what we're talking about. This traditional practice, that's what we saw in the first part of that film. The old traditional, old loop and shoot, 2 players are moving. And this is the station-based practice that your coaches provide your players with every time they touch the ice. Over in Charles University in Prague, you can actually become a doctor of hockey in the Czech Republic. This was one of their case studies. They observed 50 traditional old school practices and recorded the average number of repetitions. So the average number of skill development that actually occurred in a practice. And this down here is the average number of skill development that occurs in a station-based practice, which your kids go through. Over the course of the season, you can see the repetitions are clearly much higher in one practice, but the numbers I want us to focus on are here in red. We get to these numbers by having 2 practices a week, 4 weeks in a month, and assuming a 6 to 7 month training calendar. This is the average, these are the amount of repetitions that occur that your son or daughter are going to be experiencing relative to what older archaic associations do. So, your son or daughter in this training environment each year receives 3 years worth of development on strictly repetitions. And during these critical points from 9 to 12 years old, your kids are getting faster, getting better 3 times faster than associations that have not adopted the new modern way of training. So we've talked about this here, you guys up front. Have you guys seen, you guys weren't here yesterday, right? So our biggest thing, if we want to be a better hockey player, we want to be a better athlete at the younger ages. Playing other sports, going and play basketball, skateboarding, surfing, whatever it is now will make you a better athlete. So if you decide to play baseball or if you decide to play hockey, you're going to be set up to be a better athlete. And you may enjoy the game a little bit more. So this is the off-ice training with the Europeans and how they understand they want better hockey players when it matters. It's not about doing hockey-specific off-ice training. We view off-ice training somewhat, you guys have a paid professional staff here, but in terms of push-ups, sit-ups, like punishment, making kids work. But at 12 and under, our focus is on agility, balance, coordination, wiring the brain for more complex activities when they get older. And we'll have some fun watching this. It progressively gets a little more exciting, and the last 3 exercises, kids, do not try this at home. Promise me?
Yeah.
Can't show you if you don't promise me. Oh. All right. And we'll have you 2 guys demonstrate the last drill. Understand? Promise? Okay. I'll let you watch it first, and then you can give us a decision. Wiring the brain to handle complex activities when they get older. It's not about conditioning at this age. The energy systems of the players has not evolved yet. It is wasted time developing an athlete. Kids, you guys can do this at home if you have a brother or sister. Hand-eye coordination, balance, controlling your own body. We're in a very unique sport where we have kids that are trying to control their own body, learn their own body. In tennis shoes, they fall over. Now we want them to be athletes and throw ice skates on at the same time. It starts to get a little more interesting here. And the kids enjoy this. It's challenging, it's complex, but they can have fun doing it.
So far, you guys got this? You can do this, right?
Easy, right?
Right? You can do all this. Yeah.
All right, now it starts to get a little more interesting. The ability to control your body in any position will make you a better athlete. All right, this is where we gotta have a sign a parent waiver. This one here is where it starts. Don't do this at home. All right, here's our last one coming up.
So you guys have to do this one now, right?
Watch, pay
Watch,
attention
here it comes,
closely.
here it comes. Okay, here it is.
You guys ready? So that's our focus, developing athletes at these younger ages, setting up them for future success by focusing on individual skills. The practice environment, the training environment is the most important. We will tell you from USA Hockey, we work with our national teams, we select our national teams, we evaluate players for our national teams. We could care less, we don't know, we don't want to know, it doesn't matter what your win and loss record was when you were younger. All we see are players that have the skill level to possibly make the next step. And your program here is committed to it. Now here's the on-ice component of this. This was an average 11-year-old in Dallas, Texas. He's been in an environment where they've played 30 games a year and they've practiced 90 times. So that 3-to-1 practice to game ratio, 80 practices. He gets recruited by every top team in Dallas, but the teams that are recruiting him go and play 80 games and only practice 40 times. This is the skill level, the proficiency we would like our 11-year-olds to have, but that is completely possible by having your son and daughter stay in a program like you are here. The focus on individual skills.
Can't get on that.
So just like you know, the kid also has a wood stick. He plays hockey 7 months out of the year, and in the other 7 months, or other 5 months, the family rock climbs. They go water skiing. He plays tennis, plays lacrosse. He doesn't put skates on for 5 months out of the year. He's focusing on a better athlete. But there's nothing wrong with putting skates on if you're going and you're having fun. In these, are you having fun?
Yeah.
Do you have fun when you go out on the ice?
Yeah.
Do you have fun practicing here?
Yeah.
Do you like your coaches?
Yeah.
Then perfect. Everything. You're in the right spot. All right, and we'll just finish this up. The greatest quest in life is to reach one's potential. Our responsibility is to, as USA Hockey, as the national governing body, is to use our resources with the USOC as well to provide the best program, the blueprint for your sons or daughters, for your players. Our responsibility is player development and doing what's right for the kids. And by providing practice plans for coaches, by providing coaching education, they also provide age-appropriate drills and age-appropriate training where kids have that response, where they love coming to the rink. They don't have a coach that's giving them trigonometry when they're still trying to learn basic arithmetic. And they're in the right environment, and that's the best part of hockey. That's why, we didn't even do introductions, huh? All right.
Introduce yourself, Ty.
My name is Ty Hennes. I'm the regional manager for the Rocky Mountain District and Pacific District. I'm out of the national office in Colorado Springs. My responsibility is player development from Texas to Alaska. So I have a big territory with it. I'm from Seattle, so I'm from the Pacific District. I went to play prep school, that I mentioned earlier, out in Boston. Went on to play in the USHL in junior for 2 years, and then I was very fortunate to go play at Boston College, win a national championship, and then played 3 years after. You don't ever retire from anything at 27 years old, and especially if you're in the minor leagues, either the game spits you out or you move on to something else. I went to medical school in Dallas, finished my medical school, I am a doctor, and now I'm back coaching with USA Hockey because I love giving back to the game that's given me so much about it. I'll also introduce Ken Martel. He's the technical director for the American Development Model. He is a California kid. He's from here. Played Division I, won a national championship at Lake Superior State, then went on to coach at Michigan Tech, Air Force Academy, St. Cloud State, and then he was one of our first coaches at our National Development Team program in Ann Arbor. And he's back home. We had a good nostalgic visit when we drove in, went and saw his house growing up as a kid. But he's out of the national office as well. And we're just two of the representatives that will continue. I will be here as much as I can, fly in, and we'll have other regional managers as well. But this is our commitment to Ben, his coaching staff, and to you as parents. They've made the commitment to do what's right for your kids. We'll make the commitment to them to give them every resource to continue to be successful, to continue to provide for your kids. Any questions? It's Thursday night. 30 minutes.
Right on.
Right on. There we go.
Ken, can you tell them a little bit just about what we talked about the other sports starting to adopt this model?
Yeah, something really quite cool. So USA Hockey's been going down this path. We did a lot of our own research and tried to take from other sports, child development, education, putting together some of the programming for the American Development Model. And the U.S. Olympic Committee, part of my job with USA Hockey is I do sit on the U.S. Olympic Committee's athlete development group. So I get to deal with all the other sports and their technical directors on studying how our kids become Olympic champions, basically. And what's really cool is all the other sports have been looking at what we're doing. They're all looking at the same research, and the U.S. Olympic Committee is now adopting the American Development Model, a long-term athlete development plan for every sport. And what's really cool from USA Hockey's perspective, they're even going to use our ADM logo. It'll have the Olympic rings in it instead of the USA Hockey logo there. And then the other sports will be dropping their logo into that. So it's going to be this common, the principles are the same. The technical skills that we learn in ice hockey are different than the technical skills that are learned in other sports. But how kids grow, learn, and develop is the same. Because kids are kids. So it's really cool. We're excited about it because we're at the forefront of it, and USA Hockey gets to take a little credit. But there'll be a big announcement. Well, there'll be some work in Chicago at the end of this month with a lot of different organizations, and then there should be some big deal that comes out in January or February of this year. And backing this are some big-time institutions that have a lot of resources for PR, etc. And as a model program with USA Hockey that's kind of adopted this, hopefully we can give your association a little bit of publicity as well, not just locally but nationally. And it's kind of an exciting time, and nobody else is. This is the USOC ADM. It looks, they just kind of flip things around a little bit, and because it's for all sports, their categories are just a little bit wider because they got to fit everybody into it. But that's what it's going to look like, and there'll be a whole lot of material that goes along with it. But it's a kind of a cool time. And you guys, as one of our 17 premier programs, are kind of at the forefront. So really cool. You'll be hearing about this from everybody.
Any questions? It's hot in here. Really hot.
Hey, when you guys say resources, what quote unquote are the resources?
A bunch of small little items. We've got some hardboard dividers that are coming. We've got some nets that are coming, some skills type of equipment, and human resources as well. You know, just our staff having the ability for the coaches here to be able to bounce ideas off of basically national team level coaches that are on our staff, that work in Ann Arbor, communicate with some of our other model programs. You know, those learning opportunities. We've already sent some of their staff to coach education programs at different events where they can get exposed to. I mean, you were talking the other day about meeting Unu from Finland, and
college coach
Bill Beanie, and so they get a chance to become better at what they do, because they're very committed to doing things the right way. It's why we've gone through this process with them. We get lots of applicants, and very few we've chosen, but the club here and the people in charge have done a tremendous job of convincing us that, one, they're quality people, they're doing the right things for kids. I mean, youth sports has become a business in our country, and that's okay, but they're committed. It's not just a business to these guys. Like, they really are doing the right things. They're kind of on the cutting edge of all this, and you know, we're excited about working with them. You know, so that's how the resources get tied in. It's the club's continuing education, plus some, you know, it probably ends up about $10,000 worth of physical resources that will come to the club that, you know, free of charge, to do different programming on the ice that's going to help the kids be better.
You're dismissed.
Guys, everyone, I just want to thank everyone. I know it's a weeknight. We got people coming from all different places and things, and the kids are young, so stick around afterwards and take the time to really, you know, listen to a lot of science and things like that, and support our club and show a great showing. So we really appreciate all your interest in your kids' development, all your support and faith and trust in what we're doing, and we really appreciate Ken and Ty, you know, coming all the way from Colorado just for a couple of days, and right back out of here tomorrow morning, but just to come and spend time to speak with all of you. So we can give them a round of applause. You'll see these guys popping in over the course of the year. Different guys might be coming in every few months or so. So we appreciate it. We appreciate all your support to take the time to listen. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you. Thank you. Get that right smell on you right now.
Shower time. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Good job. Good job, guys. Ciao, guys.
I have a fair shower in my lap.
No, just that one. Yeah.
Oh, Sunday. What is
Yeah.
it?
I'm gonna say.
Give the whole new meaning.
Cross-training.
That's what we've already got.
Had a good last
Where is
Guess what? Shower and
That's why we're investing in these guys.
Big US hockey website. All the information on this is 80 kids working together. Well, actually, one of those is off-ice practice plan. All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.